I want to have like a timeless style, but like that's not what's happening right now. We're living in a consumer culture. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Good Vibes FC. I'm Sam Mewis, aka Sam Lewis, coming to you from the Women's Game World Headquarters in Vermont.
And I'm Lynn Biondolo, aka Limpy Indolo, coming to you from sunny Kansas City.
Oh my gosh, Lynn, you're a busy girl.
I know. Look at
Limpy
me.
is out there. Limpy is out there in the world. Okay, Good Vibes FC is presented by our really great friends over at Olipop. Use code TWG20 for 20% off at drinkolipop.com. Before we get into it, Lynn, last week we announced that TWG Live, Night of 1,000 Stars, is coming to San Jose for NWSL Championship Weekend, and tickets have officially sold out for the show. So a big thank you to everybody who has bought tickets already. We are so excited to celebrate the biggest game of the year and relive the season's most intense moments. We're going to have some really amazing guests joining us, and I can't wait to be in San Jose with all of you, thanks to our friends at Nationwide. All right, Limpy, tell us what's going on. You're in Kansas City. How's it going?
It's good. It's cold here. I don't know why I didn't expect it to be this cold. It's freezing.
Yeah. Tell us about the game and surprising Hammy.
Oh my gosh, it was so cute and so fun. Me and Marley flew in, surprised her at Pitchside, her coffee shop.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. In case anybody didn't know or didn't listen to this last week, Kristen Hamilton, her retirement celebration for Kansas City was on Sunday. And Lynn went to surprise her because Lynn and me and Kristen Hamilton were teammates for literally ever.
It was only 2 years out of my career that I didn't play with her.
The worst 2 years ever.
I know, it was horrible those 2 years. Yeah, we're here in Kansas City. We're with her family. It was so funny when I was originally deciding to come. I told Elizabeth Ball, I was like, I want to surprise Kristen. Can you help set this up? And she was like, yeah, we would love it if you stayed with us. This is fine. And I was like, great, but I know Kristen's family is going to stay with you too. So if we need to get a hotel, no big deal. She was like, no, we would love you to stay with us. Please.
Plenty of room.
Plenty of room. So we fly in, surprise her, realize it's like her whole family's here, and then 6 more friends are also surprising her. And so we are on our way from the coffee shop to their house, and like we had to take 3 different cars, like that's how many people are here. And I was like, Kristen, where's everybody staying? And she was like, at the house.
Did you count?
Yeah, she was like, I was like, where's everybody sleeping? She's like, we're gonna figure it out. And I was like, cool.
I can just hear her saying that.
And it was like,
we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and it was fine. Like obviously we all were fine. We slept some people on the couch. Me and Marley slept in bed, thank goodness. But it was really fun. It was like, I feel like we were like back in college, just having like a girls weekend.
Oh, that is so fun. Well, I was so happy that I got to see you both at the Kansas City game on Sunday. I was there doing some media for the league, and then I just also got to see all my best friends and celebrate Hammy, and it was so much fun. And we had a big group hug.
We had a big jumping hug. Did it bring back so many memories for you?
In some ways, but also like not, because I never played at that stadium.
Yeah.
You know, we were both on Kansas City in 2022, but that stadium wasn't built yet. So like in some ways, like seeing, being with you and Hammy and like catching up with some of the girls that we saw like briefly on the sideline. Yeah, it was like great. But I also think it like solidified for me that like I am not in that like world anymore.
Oh, wow.
Like I like had other things on my mind, and I was like, I have a flight to catch, and I was doing this other thing. And I feel like for the first time I was like, I don't feel like I'm in the wrong place anymore. I felt like, yeah, I'm like, I live in a different like world of this now, like a different version of this now.
Well, that's probably a little healing.
Yeah, it felt like very normal, but I was so just like happy and excited to see you guys, and I got to like touch your little belly.
I know.
And it was so cute.
And you looked so cute too. I was like, who put this outfit together? You look great.
Me. I did.
It's incredible.
I put it together. I was wearing this like oversized rugby shirt but I like tucked the front up. So not a millennial tuck, not into my jeans. I tucked it up into this like little like tank top sports bra I was wearing underneath kind of, so that it looked cropped.
Yep.
And then I had on like high-waisted, like kind of like flary jeans. So I felt like
cute.
I had like a womanly shape. And then I had on a trench coat, like Sherlock Holmes. And I was like, this actually is really cute.
And cute gold hoops, gold necklace.
And cute gold hoops.
You can't forget the accessories.
And a gold necklace. I know, I'm like a style queen.
It was incredible. Slay.
Literally slay. I was doing so good until I said literally slay about myself.
I know. I was like, you just put yourself back.
Dang it. But I have actually been, like, really thinking and working on my style a little bit. I feel like I, like, go to little events like this, and I just wanna look normally put together, but, like, what I wear on a day-to-day leggings are, like, officially out. Like,
I
I have
know.
realized, like, leggings are out, and now when I, like, look at myself in leggings, I'm like, "Yeah, these are out. Like, these aren't cute anymore," and I'm, like, so appalled by that.
I know they're out, but like I can't throw them away. Like I have to. They're just so comfortable. I have to.
Well, they're so comfortable, and I'm still gonna work out in
Yes,
leggings, obviously.
obviously.
But, like, yeah, I think we need to be wearing, like, pants. Like, even, like, sweatpants are better than leggings these days.
I know. I told you that. I said you need like sweatsuits, like matching suits and stuff.
Yeah, you did. The thing that upsets me, though, is I'm, like, watching all these style videos and trying to, like, figure out how to do it, and it's, like, everything is just trendy, but I'm, like, "But that's, like, such a scam for you to have to buy all new clothes all the time," and so I'm, like, I wanna have, like, a timeless style, but, like, that's not what's happening right now.
Yeah, but you can. You
We're
know.
living in a consumer culture.
Yeah, but I feel like the people that look the most stylish are like capsule wardrobes, and then they have
Timeless.
like another piece that they add to it.
Trench coats.
Exactly, like a trench coat.
Yeah, it's trench coats. Just call me Sherlock Sammy. That was my big joke all day, was, like, I would, like, wrap up my coat and be like, "Do I look like Sherlock Holmes?" And I said it to, like, 55 people. I feel like people don't know if I'm, like, actually self-conscious about it, so, like, sometimes, like, "No, you look really cute," and I'm like, "Yeah, you guys, I know. I was just, like, making a joke. Can you please laugh? That's actually, like, what I wanted out of this."
Okay, so joke didn't hit. Got it.
Do you wanna move
I
on?
do. I really do.
Let's move on to NWSL Decision Day. This was on Sunday. All of the games took place on Sunday, and the biggest thing left on the table in the last games of the season was the final playoff spot. It was up for grabs between Louisville and North Carolina. Going into it, Louisville have never made playoffs. So, there was lots of talk about if they were going to pull it off. They were playing Bay FC. And last week, Lynn, we asked each other what was going to happen. And we kind of predicted that Louisville had it. And they did. But I have to say that as I was watching the games and North Carolina was up against Gotham, and
Yeah.
Louisville was tied. And if that had happened, if for those minutes, those 30, 45 minutes, those were the results that held Louisville tie and North Carolina win, North Carolina would have gone through. And I could tell in that moment that I had made a mistake last week, because I was just, like, nonchalantly kind of like, yeah, I think Louisville probably have it. In my, like, heart of hearts, I was so appalled at
I
myself that I had
know.
said that. I was kicking myself because I'm going, North Carolina, did I forget where I came from?
I know.
Did I just betray my heart? We got on this media bandwagon and we said, yeah, it would be great for Louisville to win. No, Louisville did win and Louisville did go through. So we did predict it right.
In that moment, I could just imagine North Carolina going through, and then I had to face Mary.
And we're out of the
Well,
club.
we had to.
We're out of the club forever.
I'm sorry, girls. I am sorry. I am happy for Louisville because it would have been like a weird and twisted moment for them to come in ninth again. But I am sorry, North Carolina.
I am too. I formally apologize to North Carolina because I in that moment I learned a lot about myself, and it's that my heart is still in North Carolina. They did so great. They beat Gotham 3-2, but they were up 3-0 at one point. Mary Speck scored an
I
amazing
know. So
goal
happy for her.
towards the beginning of the game. I was so happy for her. Manaka scored a banger. North Carolina just, like, fought for it, and I was really, really proud of them. And I will say, this is no shade on Louisville, but I wasn't happy that I predicted this right.
Yeah.
I am, like, there's a part of me that's like, this is cool that Louisville made it. Louisville ended up winning their game 1-0. Rookie Ella Haas scored this playoff clinching goal, which was a huge deal. So they beat BFC 1-0. And I will say, for the first time ever making playoffs, this team has come together so well under head coach Bev Yanez, who now has become the first person in the league to make playoffs as both a player and a coach. This is what happened. Lynn and I have taken accountability.
Sorry.
Louisville are going through. North Carolina, we love you so much. And that's what happened on Decision Day.
Sorry, but excited.
Sorry, but excited. Exactly. All right. So Louisville are going to take on the Washington Spirit, which is not ideal, but it's not impossible. And I will say that, unfortunately for the Spirit, they have, like, one of the longest availability report lists I've ever seen. They had 11 players listed as out this past weekend, and those 11 players include Croy Bethune, Rosamond Kawasi, Gift Monday, Trinity Rodman, and Lacey Santos. So as I now look at, like, the bracket, and see Louisville matched up against the Spirit, I'm kind of like, I wouldn't bet on it, especially if some of these players return for next weekend, but like, it's not impossible for Louisville.
No, I agree, especially with all these players out. I think that Louisville has a very direct style of play, and they're also really good at high pressing. Funnily enough, Washington also kind of have this similar style of play when all these players are healthy and they like to kind of take it to you, and they're very fast. And I thought originally it could be like this very transitional game. I'm just interested to see like who's gonna fill these spots, because those are like a lot of big names. And then they also have like people out on maternity leave as well. So that's a lot of people.
I know. I didn't even list off all 11 players.
Yeah.
I just like listed off a few. And you're so right to point out that the Spirit, and this is kind of was the storyline of the Spirit last year as well, was like, would they, go all the way in playoffs with all of the injuries that they had? So I'm really hoping that some of the group or all of the group that I listed off will be back for
100%.
playoffs. They do have almost one more week. So we'll see what happens with that. We're going to talk a little bit more about North Carolina later in the show, because we're going to talk about the teams that unfortunately did not make playoffs. But with Gotham losing to North Carolina and then Portland beating Houston 2-0, good for Portland. The rest of the playoff spots are finally decided. 3 through 8 were like kind of still up for grabs, which is crazy to think that there was so much movement possible.
I was like, we are playing for third through seventh place, so we could land anywhere. It was crazy. It's madness.
Well, let's talk about your team actually for a second. Your team, Seattle, tied Orlando. You guys came in 5th. Pretty good. Yes, you said you could have come in 3rd, but you also could have come in 7th. But now with this placement, you're now playing Orlando, and your team was just there, and now they're going to go back to Seattle and go back to Orlando later this week.
Oh my gosh, no. They're
They're
going to
staying.
stay.
How did they plan for that?
Well, I do not envy Killian, who is our planner man, but they had to plan for like 5 different locations. Every location. First of all, our internationals have been gone for the international break. Flew straight to Orlando. Before they left, we said, make sure you pack, because you might be in Orlando for a whole nother week. So there. Or you could be coming back to Seattle. That would be ideal. If not, you could be coming back to Seattle and then San Diego. You could be going straight to San Diego. You could be like, there was so many different things. I do not envy the club at all.
I'm that like is so appalling to me to think about that they had to plan that far in advance.
Yeah.
And immediately where my mind goes now I said I'm like firmly outside of like the player mindset. What do they do with their pets? I'm like, I'd be panicking about my dog.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I don't even have a dog.
They had to have like a contingency plan in case they had to stay for the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that stresses me out literally so bad.
Yeah, so it just came out. We play Friday at 8 p.m. They're going to stay in Orlando, train there, and then kind of just like continue to get acclimated, and so we can go win and come home.
Do you think it is a disadvantage to be on the road all week, or do you actually think it's like nice to not have any like the distractions of home?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? Like, if you could be in your own bed and you can be eating your own food, that's obviously an advantage, right? And then you can have your own stadium, like everything is there. I think as you continue to get older in this league, you realize like things you can do to make yourself more comfortable on the road and make it feel more homey and get into a routine. I just think it would have been a bigger disadvantage to fly all the way back to Seattle and then fly all the way back to Orlando. So it's like, what other choice do you have?
I know that would definitely have been worse to do. Like, that would have been 3 cross-country flights in a week.
Yeah.
Before your quarterfinal, if you had gone to Orlando to Seattle to Orlando.
Yeah. And I think that a positive about our team is that we do have a lot of players that have international experience from the youth all the way up. And so people are used to living in hotels. And that I think could hopefully give us a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah. It can be nice. You don't have to do any dishes.
No dishes. You don't really have to think about anything except your dogs.
Oh my gosh, bless the dogs. Okay, so I feel like I've been a little all over the place. Let's run through the final standings. Places 1 and 2 were already set before this weekend. Kansas City obviously won the Shield. The Spirit came in 2nd. The way it wrapped up this weekend was Portland came in 3rd, then Orlando, then Seattle, then San Diego, Louisville, and Gotham. So Kansas City is hosting 8th place Gotham. And we were talking about like the spread of teams that could have come like anywhere in that grouping. Gotham could have came in 4th and hosted a quarterfinal at home. But with the way things ended up, they came in 8th, and now they have to play Kansas City in Kansas City. And I feel like that was like kind of an oops.
I think that was kind of an oops too. And that's like the last thing I want to do.
So that didn't go according to plan.
No.
Second place, Spirit are hosting Louisville, which we've already talked about. Third place, Portland are hosting San Diego, which I actually think is kind of like a spicy one potentially. I feel like Portland and San Diego are kind of like my dark horses for playoffs.
Yeah.
Like they've shown to be consistent enough to find themselves here. They've shown they've had really great phases of the season, and if they like come into the right form at the right time, I could see one of them making the final.
I know. I agree. I feel like this season is just it's been so strange and so tight that besides like Washington and Kansas City, everybody's had like a good moment and a really bad moment. Because like San Diego was in a rut there for a second. They're also dark horses for me, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And then added playoffs on top of that. Playoffs is just a dark horse in general.
Yeah, playoffs is its own dark horse. Okay, so we're looking at this bracket. We've got on the left side, Kansas City versus Gotham, Orlando versus Seattle. And then on the right side, we've got Spirit versus Louisville and Portland versus San Diego. Is there anything else that really stands out to you about this? Or are you kind of like, yeah, this is what happens when playoffs are left, the order of the matchups are left up until the very last day, and it kind of seems like anybody can kind of win any game? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that is how I feel. I think it's kind of going to be exactly like season has been, just madness. And I also will say, like, obviously, Kansas City has won almost every single game. I think they've lost 2 games, but they have lost. They've lost 3 games, but they have lost games, and they have gotten scored on in recent games as well.
I know.
So it's like there's a little bit shakiness there as well.
That's actually a really good point, Lynn, and I'm glad you brought this up. I want this to be our Olipop gut check of the week. I'm drinking a cream soda. I'm actually really excited about this. I bought this at the grocery store like last Thursday, being like, I can't wait to drink this. So I'll enjoy it for you. This is our Olipop gut check of the week. We're looking at the bracket. We're looking at the playoff bracket for the NWSL. Which team has the hardest path to the final? And I'm looking at it, Lynn, and I'm like, look, the obvious answer is Gotham because they're playing Kansas City. But Kansas City were trailing San Diego on Sunday for a while, and they lost to Houston the week before.
I know.
And so I'm like, of all of these teams to like play great in their quarterfinal and like pull out an upset against Kansas City, like I feel like Gotham could. So I want to say the hardest path to the final is on the left side of the bracket. But then I look at the right side of the bracket, and I just don't really know what to make of it.
I would agree. I do think that anytime you go into Kansas City and play in that stadium, it is hard to win because their fans are like up for it. You're at your home, like all the things. But they have been a little shaky in the last couple games. And also, I look at the other side of the bracket, and I want to say Washington, like you have to go through Audi Park, which is also hard to play at. But then, like, they have so many injuries, and I think once Louisville gets, like, a taste of playoffs, you're kind of like, they could potentially do anything. I have no idea. I'm like, these playoffs are, like...
I know.
I don't know. I'm excited.
I agree. I completely agree. Look, if I was putting money on this, obviously I'm going Seattle. I know where my loyalties lie now, Lynn.
Don't forget
And I'm not making this mistake again. Seattle are going to win. I'm going Kansas City because I'm not a betting person, but literally, and I'm not just saying this because my best friends are on the team, I could see Gotham upsetting Kansas City. I actually could. I'm putting my money that Kansas City will because, that's what the odds would say. But don't come at me if it doesn't happen because I was on the fence on this.
I think there's going to be an upset. I think there's going to be an upset somewhere.
For sure. I do think Spirit will beat Louisville. I think Louisville have shown so much grit this season, but if Washington has their players on the field, they shouldn't lose. And then Portland, San Diego, I'm truly stumped, but I could see San Diego upsetting because the difference between 3 and 6 is actually nothing. Like that should be more of an upset than it would be, but it's like in my head, those two teams have had very similar seasons. They're separated by the tiniest of margins. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. I have.
Maybe that's why it's so unpredictable is because the what separates all these teams is actually like 1 point.
I know, and that's why I was bringing up Kansas City and Washington as like you would think that they would be outliers. But then Washington has so many people hurt, so that kind of puts them back down. And then Kansas City has been a little bit shaky, so that puts them back down.
In a weird form.
We're going to find out.
Our Olipop Gut Check of the week, who has the hardest path to the final? Us. Literally us.
The viewers.
Because we don't know what's going to happen anywhere. The viewers, good luck to all of us. Good luck to Seattle Reign. Shout out to Lynn. All right, that was our Olipop Gut Check of the week, and we don't know. But you let us know in the comments, please. All right, we are all set for playoffs. Those are going to kick off with the quarterfinals this upcoming weekend. We've got, Lynn, your game is on Friday night, Pride versus Reign. Saturday at noon, it's Spirit versus Louisville. And then we've got a doubleheader on Sunday with Kansas City versus Gotham, the Thorns versus the Wave. But sadly, Lynn, 6 NWSL teams are all done for 2025. And we are going to dive into what went right for them this season, what went wrong, and what we think they should focus on in the offseason. And that's when we get back from this break. All right, welcome back, everyone. So, like I said, 8 teams made playoffs, which means 6 teams are all done for 2025. And I want to give them a proper goodbye and acknowledge the seasons they did have. There were some incredible moments from some of these teams, but also maybe we can think about what they should do better next year to try to get over that playoff line. Just outside of the playoff line, let's start with North Carolina and try to tell the story of their season. We've already made it very clear this episode. We love the courage, but there were some painful moments this season. They lost their home opener. They struggled in their first few games. They lost their coach in the middle of the season. They lost what was supposed to be star player Jaden Shaw, who moved to Gotham. So it's like a lot of losses. But the fact that they were still in it until the very last game of the season and that they then did what they could and won that game, I feel like still really speaks to the character of the group that they stayed in it as long as they did, despite all of that stuff I just listed off.
We're obviously a little biased, but I think North Carolina has like the players are what always makes the place. And everybody has such a great attitude and like never say die attitude as well. And you could see that in this last game. Going into this offseason, they have to think of like what pieces do they need? Not just like let's sign anybody. Let's get good players that are missing in our current roster. I think of Manaka, right? She is incredible. I feel like I've raved about her every single week on this podcast. She's scoring goals left and right, but she's also able to like find passes. Like her vision for the game is amazing. So I think they need to find somebody who can be her partner in the 9, like somebody who will run for her, somebody who she can slip balls through to. So it kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of her. And then when you're playing against them, you're like, okay, if we can't stop Manaka, or if we stop Manaka, we can't stop their 9. If we stop their 9, we can't stop Manaka. Like they need to go out there and get a true goal scoring 9.
I completely agree. I love that you brought up Manaka because she has been like such a central focal point to North Carolina's season this year. Of course, they have a lot of other important pieces. Denise O'Sullivan, Ashley Sanchez, Ryan Williams, Kaylee Kurtz they all have the quality to help North Carolina be a playoff team. I agree that I think that they're missing that like goal scoring consistent 9 and they should go out and maybe like get that player. I also think, it's turmoil when you have a change in coaching staff. Whatever is going to happen there, I think they need that kind of stability. We really believe in the courage. More investment is always better. And, we have a place in our hearts for them. So we are rooting for them. Manaka, definitely bright spot, definitely MVP candidate.
Definitely. I also will say,
something North Carolina should build around.
Yeah, I will say, though, as well, that this past season, they lost Denise O'Sullivan for a very long time to injury as well. And that's their captain. And I would say before Manaka got there, for the past couple of years, Denise has been running that midfield. So when she can get back and healthy, I'm interested to see the partnership between the two of them. But I would still say you need somebody who's going to like just relentlessly every game you can count on them to go out there and like score a goal.
I completely agree. Sadly saying goodbye to North Carolina this season. We will check back in on them next year. Let's go over to the Dash, who came in 10th. And look, I myself spent so much of preseason talking about the Houston Dash. I kept saying in every like preseason podcast, biggest glow up of the year, Houston Dash. They got a new coach. They got Yasmin Ryan. They're doing new investment. They've made all these off-season moves. But from the jump, I don't feel like the Dash lived up to my hype. Maybe I put too much pressure on them to have like this like incredible glow up, which literally I kept saying. I can't say the term glow up anymore without thinking of Houston. We did have some like glimmers of greatness. Like I will always go back to they just beat Kansas City 2 weeks ago. Like that's a feat that not very many teams were able to accomplish this season. But I think the glow up turned into more of like a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, or I'm hopeful that we see them succeed more next year, and that this year was more of like a rebuilding situation. I'm interested to see like the style of play and the types of players that they would go out and try to get next year as well, or if they're gonna just stay and continue to build the relationships they have with their current squad. I do want to like shout out Avery Patterson though. I do think she's had like a big impact for that team, and she's obviously a very attacking minded outside back. So she gets forward a lot.
Yeah.
She's able to score goals as well as like create a goal for somebody else. And but with that, I think that then you need somebody in the back that can cover somebody who gets so high going forward. And I haven't like sat and analyzed like their entire game, but I do think that they need to find a bit of a balance of, okay, how can we be aggressive going forward, but how can we make sure that we are not pushing so many numbers forward that we are susceptible to goals.
Really smart. Well, I think Fabrice Couture, their head coach, was in his first season with the team this year. And I do think that with more time, I mean, we saw Houston as they came out of that summer break performing better and getting better results. And so I do think with more time and stability under, Fabrice, who has only just been there for this one season, hopefully we'll start to see some more of that sink in. I want to move on to Angel City, who came in 11th. Angel City have had like multiple huge moments and stories this year. One that we have really come back to is that they had a really great start to the season, and then it kind of like weirdly and inconsistently tapered off. But Lynn, I want you to tell us about how good they were defensively at the beginning of the year.
Well, I mean, a couple of podcasts ago, you asked me whose jersey am I going to buy, who hasn't really been on the national team yet, but I think they should be or they're going to be. And I said Savvy King, and this is one of the reasons why is before Savvy's event at Angel City, they were losing 24% of the games. And then after, since she hasn't been playing, they started losing 61%. And so they never filled a hole. She left, and that was like a big hole to fill. And unfortunately, they just like never recovered, and they never got that chemistry back. And I just think that she is such a big impact for their team, being so young, and that they might not realize that. So I'm like so hopeful and excited to see her when she comes back, and I'm excited to see all the young talent.
That actually is a really crazy stat. And obviously, Lynn is referring to Savvy's event. She unfortunately had this heart scare on the field in an Angel City game. It was another enormous moment for the league, for Angel City, something that the team had to like really rally around, something that, of course, was so dangerous and scary for Savvy. But speaking of her impact on the field, just that stat alone, that they win more games when Savvy's on the field, I think will serve them well for next year when Savvy does come back from now this heart rehab she's been doing. I think another big story for Angel City is their new coach. They typically, since their inception as a team, they have had some instability in the head coaching position. They took their time in bringing in Alexander Strauss, who came from Bayern Munich. He came in just before the summer break, clearly with an eye on like regrouping and rebuilding this team. He has a lot of experience in Europe. He's known for aggressive but possession oriented play and developing young players to do that. And I do think, Lynn, like you're about to say, their young group is full of so much potential at Angel City.
So much potential. They have 1 million youths out there running around.
Teens.
Some million teens out there running around that are so talented, that can learn so much. Like their ceiling is very high. But I do think at the same time, like you have to find the balance of young and veterans, and how do you balance that? And I do think that they are like losing some big veterans right now. So I'm like very interested to see how like this transition comes with, okay, we're losing big names, big veterans, people who can like give so much and teach so much. We see it. I know Alyssa's not there anymore, Alyssa Thompson, but like you could see the impact press had on her. So now who's gonna step up and do that role for a Riley Tiernan or a Savvy King or a Giselle? Like who's gonna be that person for them? But I'm excited to see what happens because their ceiling is very, very high.
I completely agree. Yeah, you're mentioning the retirements of kind of the players who built the club, Kristen Press and Allie Riley. And now that is leaving a void, but the team is full of Kennedy Fuller, Giselle Thompson, Savvy King, Riley Tiernan. So I feel like with Alexandra Strauss, with this kind of moment of transition, as long as coach and support staff and players and ownership are aligned on like a vision, Angel City should be a successful team. And I think we are all kind of hoping for that because, as I keep saying, we want groups that are really committed and striving to bring popularity and success to the league are the teams that can win championships and games, because we want the investment to match up and show, well, if you invest, we'll win. So I think we're all thinking about Angel City in that way. Additionally, when we're talking about, big storylines out of Angel City, we also want to mention that there was an article that came out last week written by Elizabeth Eddy calling for the NWSL to adopt a policy on gender eligibility, basically to have a policy for transgender athletes. The article was obviously problematic. I think it lacked a lot of really important elements, and it was really upsetting to a lot of people and a lot of fans. And a few days later, Angel City captain Sarah Gordon and goalkeeper Angelina Anderson addressed the article and its contents in a press conference, saying that it does not represent the views of the team or the locker room at Angel City. And I was so relieved and proud to hear Sarah Gordon and Angelina Anderson speak out about this. I think that here at the women's game and on this podcast, we've made our views on inclusivity quite clear. Sports are for everyone. The article, that's not the voice or the reasoning that I want leading this conversation for the NWSL. I want people like Sarah Gordon leading this conversation for the NWSL. So if conversations about a policy are going to start happening within the NWSLPA and the league, I would much rather that we follow Sarah Gordon's lead, someone who is open and accepting, but also vulnerable and brave and willing to speak on behalf of her team and willing to sit there in a press conference that she didn't initiate, that she didn't ask to speak on, and going to stand up for a marginalized group of people who just want to exist safely and don't want to be hated, and she's going to advocate for them to be included in everything. So what really stood out to me about Sarah was the bravery with which she spoke. And when I think about the conversations that are bound to continue happening about this, I would vote for somebody like Sarah to represent my views if I was still a player in the league. I wouldn't vote for somebody else to represent my views. And so I really just want to commend her for speaking out. And I hope a lot of players kind of follow her lead and see what she said as an example.
I couldn't agree more. I'm so happy that Sarah said something. I think that the burden falling on her sometimes can feel heavy, and it feels like sometimes you don't know what to say, and sometimes it just feels heavy. The burden feels heavy. But I do think that we have always talked about this. When people don't have a voice, you should stand up and be that voice for them. And I'm really happy that Sarah stood up and was the voice for her team to say, no, we don't feel this way. We are an inclusive league, and we are going to continue to be an inclusive league. And so I agree. I would love somebody like Sarah to lead this conversation as well.
So let's move on. I want to talk to you about Utah, who had a really pivotal moment this year, really, when they lost their best player in Ali Sentnor. They spent so much time in last place. Then Ali Sentnor got traded to Kansas City, which everybody was kind of like, what are you doing, Utah? How could you trade your best player when you're in last place? But then Utah had this incredible bounce back. They started playing so well and getting results towards the end of the season. I remember one time, Lynn, you and me were talking about, could Utah actually make playoffs? Probably not mathematically, but they just kept getting good results. And I think when they started accumulating points, it was just too late. But they really showed that they had more to give, and they had this kind of surge in performance towards the end of the year.
I agree. I was somebody who was like, whoa, they're letting Ali go as well. But sometimes I think that when you have one player that you put everything through, there's so much pressure on them, and then you stop developing other systems within the team of different connections and different it's it was almost get the ball to Ali, let her dribble and try to shoot and score, and you can't win a soccer game like that, unless you're Messi, I guess. But you need 11 players out there to be on the same page and connecting, and it almost seemed like when she left they were able to finally do that.
I know. It was really interesting and they became more fun to watch somehow. They have a few other like really notable players, Mina Tanaka, who's a standout for Japan, Mandy McGlynn, who's getting called in with the US women's national team as goalkeeper. And she got tested a lot. She definitely let in some goals, but so much is being asked of Mandy McGlynn at Utah that I actually feel like it's a great place for her to get consistent shots against her. And then they also have KK Ream, who is the NWSL's youngest ever goal scorer. She's a homegrown Royals talent. So I hope that, as she continues to grow as a player, she was just at the U17 World Cup, that the club continues to grow with her and provides her the resources that she needs to become the best player she can. All right, let's move on to Bay FC, whose biggest moment this year was definitely breaking the NWSL attendance record with the league's biggest game ever at Oracle Park. There was like over 40,000 people there. Obviously, the Bay is such an exciting place for women's sports right now. This moment and a few of the other, trial games in different stadiums. There was a game at Wrigley Park. Like those were really, really cool. And I think are such big splashes for the league to get an audience that they're not getting every game. But I feel like there's been a lot of, they made playoffs in their first season as a team last year. They have this like kind of splashy investor group, but they maybe aren't making the most of their like signing window, the transfer windows. When they make signings, it's usually pretty young players fresh out of college. And I think they need to make their bench a little bit deeper. I think they need to get some consistent experienced NWSL veterans. Obviously, they have Abby Dahlkemper and Caprice Didasco and Tess Bodie. Abby was out for much of the season on maternity leave. And now as we start to think about them, growing their roster and growing their depth, I'm also thinking that now there's 2 expansion teams coming into the league. And so I'm like, it's going to get even harder for teams to have a deep bench.
I didn't even think about that. It's so interesting, like the landscape of the league right now. It's veteran and then space and then very youthful, like a lot of rookies. And I'm interested to see like this middle group of like, you're not in your 30s yet, but you're also not a 22-year-old. You have a little bit more experience. I do think the league is lacking that. And I think that this is an opportunity for a team like the Bay to go out and get somebody who's has some more experience, but also is in a position where they can still learn a lot and grow and help the younger players also develop, because they have some youth, but then they have players like Abby who, yes, she's going to be there and she's going to like help and teach, but she is on maternity leave. She can't be on the field with them right now.
You know what strikes me about you saying that, about that middle group, is I'm thinking like, yeah, like where are the 24, 25-year-olds? But it's like they're in England. It's Naomi and Kat. And I know Alyssa is young, but she's like coming into that age of like having some more experience. And I mean, look, they're not all playing overseas, but like it is that generation of player. I mean, Sam Coffey is here. It's kind of that age of like 24, 25-year-old that we're looking to be like, you're the most valuable players in the league right now because you have a long future, but you're experienced and you should be like the focal point of your teams.
I agree. And I think that with the Bay, it's going to be interesting as well because their head coach, Albertine Montoya, is stepping down this season. So they will be getting a new coach. And I'm interested to see what style play that coach wants. And with that, they're going to go out and get those types of players, you would assume.
Yeah.
Because the coach wants whatever style. But we don't know. There's no new coach yet.
They are getting a new coach. And, they have a lot of hopeful momentum behind them. I think, hosting the NWSL Championship should, really engage the fans, engage the community. So hopefully that's good for Bay. I got to move on to Chicago. They were without Mel Swanson this season. Nobody wants to be without Mel Swanson. She is their star franchise goal scorer, but she is out on maternity leave, which is very, very happy for her. They were also without a head coach for much of the year, with actually perhaps their best performances coming under interim head coach Ella Masser. Remember all those like comebacks where like they'd be down 3-0 and then they'd like come back and tie 3-3. Ludmilla scored 10 goals this season. She got the fastest hat trick in NWSL history. So Chicago had some bright moments of like, we know what we're doing and we believe, and Ludmilla's going to score, but they just didn't have that for very long.
I know. First of all, of course, I remember it happened to our team. We were up 3-0 and they came back and tied 3-3. Look, Chicago has been in this rut for like a couple years now, and I think you need investment, but you also, again, need just like a clear cut structure. You need a coach with a plan, not to have a coach come in and out. Like you need somebody who's going to lay down the foundation, see what they have. I think that that's first and foremost. Look at the talent that you have right now, and is this talent going to fit the system that you want to play? If the answer is yes, keep them, and then just add pieces that are going to help strengthen that. If the answer is no, then you have to go out and find the people that you think are going to help with the system you want. But it starts with the system. And I think that Chicago has kind of been this team that's just been in this limbo for far too long, in my opinion.
And I don't want to be like so awful, but I'm just like, are the owners okay coming in last? Like what, like I like need, and look, they're moving stadiums, but you know, that's moving stadiums doesn't help you win. Hopefully it helps the club make more money, and then they get more players, and all hopefully it's a trickle down effect. But I'm just like, the fight that we saw from the players in August to fight back and be scrappy and gritty and be underdogs was so inspiring. They do have some good players. Alyssa Nair was their goalkeeper. They have Jamise Joseph, a young up and coming attacker. They had Ludmilla. Like, they're not without talent, but they need support. And that's where I'm just like, maybe this is always the case with the team that comes in last, is you're always just like, what are the owners doing? But I'm just like, I do want more, and I want more commitment, and I want the owners to be like, we want to win. Chicago used to make the final all the time.
I was gonna say, I think it's so jarring to both of us as well, because we know a Chicago that used to make the finals every single year, or like was in playoffs every single year. And they used, I remember in 2021 or 22, I can't remember the year, they had a stat that they had made the playoffs for the last, it was like 8 years, and it was the first team that had ever done that. And now we're seeing them
come in last.
So I think that's very jarring for us. And it's also upsetting because when I look at the team, obviously social media is a little bit fake, but when I look at them, they look like they're very connected. Like they enjoy each other.
They all showed up in Hartford, Connecticut for a listener's retirement game. They like each other.
Yeah, you have that chemistry off the field, which usually translates onto the field. And then we see them go out and they fight and they come back and they're scrappy. So you just need some leadership that's going to like push them in the right direction. And for, I think, too many years they've had to rely on themselves to make those decisions, and at some point the ownership, the management, the coach, somebody has to take that role from them and say, we're going to lead you to success, not we'll see how this year goes.
I know. Well, look, we're hoping it happens. They have a new coach, they're moving to a new stadium. We're very hopeful, but we also expect more support for the players. All right. Rest in peace, everybody who's out. There were some really, really great moments this year, and there were some tough moments, but sometimes it's darkest before the dawn, Lynn. And maybe next year, everybody will come in first, you know? All right. We have to take one more quick break, but when we get back, we're going to check in on Chelsea and the inbox. So don't leave. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Before we go over to the inbox, let's check in really quick on our friends over in England. Sam Kerr scored her second goal of the WSL season on Saturday in Chelsea's 2-0 win over London City. It was a really difficult looking finish. It was a signal to me. Sam Kerr's back, baby. So we're also pumped about that. And Lynn, Naomi Girma was back in the squad for the first time this season for Chelsea, which is very exciting.
I know. I'm so happy for her. We love Nay, so anytime Nay is healthy, go Nay. But also, I just want to back up to Sam's goal. It was very like Sam-esque, of you put pressure on the keeper, make things happen. And what I thought was so great is like she just knew where she was on the field and she knew where the goal was. And so when the ball bounced back to her, she didn't even have to look. She just like turned and shot. And I was really happy for her.
I know. It was a very natural goal scorer's goal. From a weird angle, the goalkeeper's in a weird position. You can't just like nail it on the like it was just good. It was a solid, great finish. And, you know, it was only 1-0. And London City was not making it easy on them. Go off, London City. Chelsea are not necessarily like racking up goals yet. And I want to see Sam Kerr on the field more, because who's going to rack up goals besides Sam Kerr? Obviously, plenty of people on the team can score, but Sam Kerr is the best.
We're not biased here at all.
All right. Not at all. Not at all. All I do is talk about my friends and my family. All right, let's head over to the inbox where we heard from Paula this week. Paula writes, "Hi dogs," with an emoji of a hot dog. "How are you ladies? Big fan of your podcast here. I am a mom of 2. My oldest is 12 and has been playing for a local competitive team for almost 4 years. I am the manager of the team. This August, they started playing 11v11 and new teammates have joined. The girls are all having a hard time clicking and communicating on the field. Is there any activity US players would recommend for team bonding? Trying to come up with fun ideas that they can enjoy, but also good ideas that will really help them work on communication. Would love to hear your recommendations. Thanks for putting up such a great podcast. We love it. Thanks again, Paula." Paula, shout out for managing
The
the
youths.
team.
12 is a weird age. Not gonna lie.
Oh, the worst. The only worst age is 33.
Which is what you are now.
Just kidding. Being 33 is fine. Being 33 is fine. Being 12 is hard because you just feel awkward.
So I think it's hard to come up with ideas because sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And you're like, please do it.
Is there anything worse than a 12-year-old just like not liking your idea? My like cousin's kid is 14 and I'm like terrified of her. Back to Paula. I mean, look, I think with this age, the key is getting them to be less self-conscious around each other. And I think it's like, that's a tall task. I don't know. But if there is kind of a few girls that are very central to the group that you can get on your team to be like, we're really going to work on this thing. I need you to be bought in. It's really important. It empowers them as leaders, but then it also kind of shows the rest of the girls that it's okay to participate and it's okay to be goofy and have fun. And so I think, Paula, if you can come up with some kind of game. It could be goofy. It could be squirrel tag where you tuck the pennies in the back of your shirt and you chase each other around. It's like, it could be like a non-soccer guessing game or like a goofy punishment, something that will get them
out of their comfort,
outside of their heads. You just need the buy-in from, I think, some of the leaders, and you need, even if it's like a chat, even if you want to sit them down in a circle and say, let's talk about it. I feel like you're not communicating well. What's preventing that? What does communication look like on the field? And you can talk about those things.
I do have a 12-year-old nephew, and I would agree with like kids understand and know more than we give them credit for. And so with Kingston, you can sit him down and talk and say, what's going on? Like, what's the deal? And sometimes it takes like a little bit of like coaxing it out of him, but he'll talk to you, right? And I think that is a great thing to do with, maybe, I don't know, sometimes in a group, like you can be nervous, you don't want to talk, but having honest conversations with them, but then also, like you said, making sure it's like silly. And I think it's just like an awkward age, and they don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to like be known as a weird one. Yeah, you don't want to be embarrassed.
Everything at that age is embarrassing. It's like, God forbid you see me at the mall with my mom, but it's like I'm 12. Who do you think drove me here? But like, I remember wanting to curl up in a ball if I got spotted at the mall.
Yeah, you'd be like, I don't know her. Give me the money and go over there.
It's like, what am I gonna buy without my mom?
No, it's so weird. It's so strange. What about juggling competitions, like, and stuff like that? In a pair. Like you have a group of 5 where like everybody has to touch the ball and then you have to get it into this trash can, or you have to then stuff like that where you actually have to communicate, but it's like fun and silly at the same time.
Oh yeah. Do like groups of 6 holding hands, keeping the ball up out 20 yards, and the whole group has to hold hands and move, and then they have to juggle it into a trash can or a goal or something. And they have to talk, and they have to giggle, and they have to cheer for each other, and they have to do all that stuff. I think we solved it. Okay, Paula, thank you so much for writing in and trusting us. I hope we answered your question, and I hope that you guys figure it out. It's going to be great. Good luck. This was literally just the best. I'm so happy that we got to hang out this weekend. I'm so glad that we got to hang out today. And I'm so happy that we got to share all of this stuff with all of our beautiful listeners. So before we let everybody go, let's leave everybody with a good vibe.
Do you have one?
I do. I know we talked about this at the top, but I feel so happy that I got to see my friends this weekend. I was kind of alluding to this earlier, but I did, being at the game, feel suddenly like, oh yeah, I get that I'm like in a different role now. I'm like not a player. I'm not like an immediate ex-player. Like I felt unfamiliar being on the sideline. And I think what doesn't feel unfamiliar is like being with you and Marley and being with Kristen and being there like with my friends. I think I am so like caught up in this part of my life now, which is like media and making podcasts and doing all these things. But it was so nice to be around you guys again and to just be like, those connections I feel like are so important. I think everybody gets so caught up in like their own, this world that I live in, and everybody's in that. And then those moments that you get to come together, planned or unplanned, are just like really nice touch points that I think I need to prioritize more. And so seeing you guys was like really great for me, and I really appreciated it.
Well, first of all, you're gonna make me cry.
Now tell me how much you love me.
Well, you're gonna make me cry, is what I was gonna say, because my good vibe is kind of the same thing a little bit. Similar but different. I do love you so much. I was so happy I got to see you. I was happy that I got to show you my little belly and that we could talk about your wardrobe. It did. It just felt, even though we were, I feel like we've all gone off and done so many different things, right? You're like in this media world. Kristen is in Kansas City and she has this coffee shop and she is retiring and they're like settling down, like all these things that are incredible. And then for myself, I am gonna have a baby, which is crazy. I feel like we've all, oh my gosh, I'm like emotional. So we've like started at like something so small and innocent, and we've gone off and like done so many incredible things, but coming back together, it was like no time has ever passed, right? And and we get to be silly and goofy, and I feel like this soccer has given me so much, like so much community that you never think of when you start playing, right? You're just like, I love playing and I want to be out there with my friends, and then your friends turn into your family. And so like that's my good vibe, is just being here and seeing everybody and being able to, this is, I swear to God, pregnancy hormones, like I have no idea, but being able to like see everybody and just feel like I'm like back with my extended family was just so much fun. I've been having like the best time this weekend. So that's my good vibe.
Oh, good, Lynn. I'm like so happy. And I'm so happy that you were there for Hammy. I know how important you guys' friendship is. I feel so blessed that I was also there, albeit a little bit coincidentally, but I feel very, very lucky that I got to be a very tiny, small part of it. And
I
just,
know,
like,
but it was so
witness it.
like when you said you were coming though, I
And
was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, we get to see Sam too.
I know. I know. And then I like saw you on like the walkway, and I like immediately stopped what I was doing, and I was like,
I know.
ah! And it was just so fun. And I do really think like it is this, I'm making this about me again. And I know all of this is like really about Hammy, but it's just like it's such an important reminder for me to like, it's such a small effort to be like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go visit, like, or I'm gonna call them, or I'm gonna do this. And I just think the longer you go without the touch point, the harder someday it will be to get back to like nothing's ever changed, or like no time has passed at all. And I just think that like the effort you make to create those touch points, whether it's for 30 minutes or one day or a week or whatever it is gonna just be so important as our lives all continue to change.
First of all, this like so, this I keep having to move over, but I agree. I just think I just feel so lucky that I in the first place got to play with you guys, because now I have these touch points and I have this support system as our lives change. And yes, maybe we're like not on the same team anymore, and we don't see each other every day, and we don't do stupid silly stuff, but being back and like being able to just immediately pick up and also just call and say like, how are you doing, how's this going, having that support is just, I think, really incredible. And I just feel really lucky to see you, have you as my best friend, also be here with Kristen, and I just feel really lucky.
Well, I do too. What a great good vibe this week. I'm like so glad that we're being softies. That's it for this week's episode of Good Vibes, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you check out Friendlies with Sam Coffey on Thursday. We're talking all about the Portland Thorns. Plus, Becky Sauerbrunn dropped an episode of Teaming Up on Monday with Rebecca Lowe. And there is a new episode of Mewis Squared coming out on Friday. I'm very, very excited about it. So you can also join us on Discord. You can follow along with us across all social media. You can subscribe to our newsletter. And yeah, thank you for being here. And we just love you a lot.
We love you. Tell your friends you love them. Go on. Do it.
Oh,
all right,
really sweet.
You. Bye.
Okay, everybody. Love you. Bye.